Teaching number 103. Observe what happens when you leave what belongs to you on earth to come to listen to my word, or to mitigate some pain. When you return to your work or your home, it seems to you as if someone had been there supplying you in your absence. And so it is in truth, disciples, because I am the one who watches over what you leave behind in the moments of occupying yourself in the performance of your spiritual mission. Take this as proof that when you leave this world to consecrate your existence to my service, I will remain watching over those you leave, whom I will cover with my mantle of peace, filling with my presence the void you left in them. Understand that if I have been teaching you how to live in the world as children of God for a long time, now I am preparing you to enter the spiritual life that awaits you after this. Go through this existence fulfilling the mission that you have brought to life so that you can understand the meaning of the spiritual life you have penetrated into. Make no excuse of humanity that you are horrified by their sin. If you love me, you will not stop loving me and your fellow men. Now that dangers and threats hang over men, it is when you must prove to me that you love them, that you feel their pain, and that you are willing to fight for the salvation of all. Have you not seen how I have always come to your aid precisely at the moments of greatest bitterness for humanity? Watch and pray, people, your mission is defined, therefore no one returns to me telling me that he could do nothing, that he ignored the purpose for which he was sent. Your works must be of charity, of unification, and of peace. My new disciples, those who have listened to me at this time, have contracted the responsibility of spreading my doctrine, making their works the best testimony of the truth contained in this teaching. Thus, living according to this word, you will have fulfilled the mission for which you were sent to this world, and your testimony will be taken as true. In all times I have manifested myself in the people destined to spread knowledge and faith in my divinity throughout the world. People of chosen spirits and not of a determined race, because it is the same that I find them incarnated in one nation, then in another, speaking one or another language. Why should the body of man be graced with finery that belongs only to the spirit? Why should the Lord take pleasure in only one of the races that make up humanity? At this time the spirit of true Israel vibrates everywhere. They are the spirits that feel my presence, that await my coming, that trust in my justice. When these words reach other places, many will scoff, but I tell you it would be better for them not to mock them, because the time will come when they wake up from their lethargy and realize that they are also children of the people of God. These multitudes that listen to me today can fall into confusion if they do not study my word and if they do not get rid of their materialism. It can happen to them what happened to the Israelite people of the early times, who heard the voice of the Lord, received the law and had prophets, for which they came to believe that they were the only loved people of God. This was a grave error from which the great trials came to them, the humiliation, the exile and the captivity. It is necessary for you to know that my love could not distinguish you by race or by creed, and that if I speak of my people, it is because from the earliest times I have found myself preparing spirits whom I send to earth to illuminate with their light the path of humanity. They have been the eternal wanderers who have inhabited different nations and have gone through many trials. In this time they have found that human laws are unjust, that there is no truth in affections, and that there is no peace in the spirit of humanity. All of you have come to a new incarnation, and the pain you feel is so great that you ask me to put an end to your existence, but I ask you, don't you know that you cannot cease to exist, and that if you suffer on earth today, when your spirit passes into the spiritual valley, it will continue to live under the same test until it pays off its debts or learns the lesson? You are draining a very bitter cup, because you are at the end of one stage and at the beginning of another. It is harvest time when you are reaping the harvest of what you have sown throughout the last journey. It is necessary that it be this way so that when the lands are clean, I return to deposit in my sowers the seed of love, which, well cultivated, gives you the fruits of peace and redemption. You were sick and weak to continue walking, you felt that you had no support, you were looking for a light that would guide you to a safe harbor, and that was the moment when I came among you who were lost in the middle of the night. Without knowing where were you going, I had heard your cry, and I sent Elijah to you to lend you help and announce my arrival. My presence shook you with joy, and instantly you feel comforted. O disciples, do not forget my lesson for this day. Today you have learned that everything you have harvested is the fruit of your works, and that after purification you will feel free and clean of imperfections. You contemplate many signs that tell you about the great trials that your planet is yet to come, and despite listening to me, you do not want to understand me yet and you have not prayed. Recognize that it is a time of penance and effort for you who know what is to come. You are on the threshold of a new era. And everything invites you to work. Behold the fertile lands, the virgin countryside, the pure and life-giving sun and the crystal-clear waters. Everything is conducive for you to live, breathe and fulfill your spiritual mission. I speak to you in a figurative sense and thus I present to you the future so that you may study my words and understand my desire as a father. I don't want you to misinterpret my teaching and shut yourself up in cloisters to pray, abandoning humanity, work for it, remove it from its ignorance and materialism and ignite faith in it. Live in grace, love justice, be merciful, do not encourage evil, on the contrary, stop it, exhorting your brothers to do good and thus you will have prepared the way for the Spirit so that it does not stumble. Do all this without it seeming to you that it has been a sacrifice for you. The tests that you have to pass, because no one is exempt from them, carry them with patience, in this way you will be teaching your brothers perseverance in my law. Unify, do not ignore each other because you practice my doctrine in a different way. If you have distanced yourself for this reason, look for your brothers and love one another, as I love you. Just as I prayed in the Garden of Olives, so that the spirit of humanity would not be lost, so pray for your brothers. I see what humanity still has to cry to be purified, but my mercy sustains and strengthens it so that it does not faint along the way. Disciples, in whom I have deposited the book of my word, strengthen yourselves from now on, so that you do not turn back when you knock at a door and it is not opened to you. Do not forget that I have told you to call in my name for the first, second and third time, and that when you verify that your call has not been able to soften the attitude of your brothers, you leave the cause to me and continue on your way, without carrying bitterness in your heart and less wishing that pain be present in those who did not want to listen to you. Clothe yourselves with kindness, because you don't know on what day or at what time you have to knock on the same door again or that they come looking for you. Only love and patience will be able to move hearts of rock, and for this reason you must always be prepared. I tell you again that you must not act as judges in the acts of your brothers. When my disciples, my emissaries and envoys are ignored, I will make my voice heard in the conscience of those who rejected my calls. That voice will be that of the judge, but you already know that my love as a father is always as the divine judge, not so in you humans who many times, when you become judges of your brothers, you stop showing yourselves as their peers. You must remove from your heart all bad feelings, so that you can reach the spirit of humanity with love. Do not love more the one who receives you and shows you faith than the one who does not accept your word. When you achieve this advancement, you will be able to say that you begin to understand me and to feel in your being a force that will give you the courage to resist the greatest tests that the world could subject you to. Regarding this teaching that I now give you, I already offered you an example in the second era. Jesus was found on the cross. The Redeemer agonized before those multitudes whom he had loved so much, each heart was a door at which he had knocked. Among the mob were the man who ruled over crowds, the prince of the church, the publican, the Pharisee, the rich, the poor, the wicked and the simple of heart. And while some knew who was the one who expired at that hour, because they had seen his works and received his benefits, others, thirsty for innocent blood and eager for revenge, hastened the death of the one whom they mockingly called the King of the Jews, without knowing that he was not only king of a people, but he was king of all the peoples of the earth and of all the worlds of the universe. Jesus, directing one of his last glances at those crowds, full of tenderness and pity, raised his plea to the Father, saying, "My Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." That gaze, the same enveloped the one who cried for him, that the one who enjoyed his torment, because the love of the Master, that was the love of the Father, was only one for all. I tell you, disciples in my law of love, that if you cannot do perfect works like the ones I did in Jesus, at least make an effort in your life to approach them. It is enough for me to contemplate a little willingness to imitate me and a little love towards your fellow men, so that I help you and manifest my grace and my power in your path. You will never be alone in the fight. If I don't leave you alone when you are bent under the weight of your sins, Do you think I will abandon you when you walk under the weight of the cross of this mission of love? Understand me, disciples, so that you can imitate me, penetrate my works and my words, so that you discover the essence of my doctrine. I only await your preparation to indicate to you the moment in which you must get up, because I, through you, will bring the light of salvation to men. Yes, beloved disciples. I am the vine. Take the wine of my grace, tomorrow you will need to fight. Get ready now that you are sitting at my table, and when the hour strikes you will have no hesitation or weakness. You will be my sowers, and you will imitate in your faith the men who cultivate the land, who sow the seed, placing all their trust, their conformity and their hope in God. Thus I say to you, that you do not know from where the irrigation will come to your crops nor the bread to your lips, but I assure you that you will lack nothing. Do not forget that the triumph belongs to those who persevere. Complete your mission on earth, and when you have finished, you can leave this world and emigrate to the land that I have promised you, which is the spiritual dwelling that is destined for the children of the Lord. Put your hope in eternal life, but ignore the materialists who believe that my doctrine, by always speaking to you about the spiritual life, is an obstacle to the material progress of humanity. Nor is it right who believes that you must always think about death and despise what this life offers you, because it is perishable. He has not known how to interpret my word, rather, he doesn't even know it. The first law that came to man's understanding through consciousness was the one that told him, grow and multiply. But now I say to you that that law is not specified only to the multiplication of the species, but to that of your gifts, virtues, and knowledge. I teach you to go through the world leaving a work of love for those who come after you. Whoever does this has set his eyes on the eternal. If your existence on earth seems too brief to carry out a great work, do not fear that death will truncate your work, because it will not be so, because my charity is omnipotent and I have the means for you to carry it to its culmination. I have given you part in the creative work, in the work of evolution and in the work of improvement, and nothing will be able to prevent you from reaching the end of your path. Fulfill your mission in harmony with the Creator and with your fellow men, and in the end, when everything is finished, you will enjoy infinitely in the contemplation of the divine work in which you worked with your Father. How great that joy will be in my spirit, and what an ineffable joy there will be in all my children. I contemplate your thirst for love, your hunger for light, and the great need you have of me, and I, your Father, having within my reach all the means of making my voice reach you, have wanted to speak to you through human understanding, as a way accessible to you, to help you understand my spiritual messages. Only my power has made the sinner become a spokesman for my word, but whoever has questioned it has soon contemplated the transformation of the beings for whom I have given you my word. You have seen sprout from a rude mind thoughts of infinite knowledge. You have seen the divine word flourish on the lips of sinners, full of light and tenderness. The spokespersons, tireless within this service and surrendered to me, have allowed my spirit to express this message to humanity. I have received great multitudes, without distinguishing any of my children. Among them the one who loves me has been the same as the one who denies me, the same one who believes in my presence within this form, as the one who doubts. I have already received all of them with the same word of love and the same paternal caress. In these multitudes I have received all mankind. Speaking to this people, I have addressed my word to all men, because my message has been for those of this time and for those of the future. When men from other lands have come among these multitudes, I have received them with love, representing their peoples, and I have prepared them to be emissaries and prophets among those who belong to them by race and language, and I have taught them to pray and watch over their peoples, turning them into guardians for times of trial and peril. My desire, which you must interpret as a divine mandate, is that you take my word to every heart where it is needed. Do not forget that just as you came before my presence complaining of hunger and thirst, the whole of humanity finds itself at this hour in a true agony of the Spirit. The day is near when men understand the importance of the Spirit, because many, believing, do not believe, and others, seeing, do not see. But when they feel the truth, they will recognize that it would be childish, unfair, and senseless to continue supporting a being that belongs to another life with the fruits of the world. Then you will seek the light in the religions and in their anxiety and anguish to find the truth. They will abolish what is false in the doctrines and will destroy everything superficial and external that they find in the various worships, until discovering the divine essence. I want that when those times arrive you find yourself fully aware of what is happening and of the mission that you must carry out. That is why I tell you once again, hear, analyze, and understand my word. I thirst for your love, that is why I have approached you at this time, because what I have found among men is not love, but sin and selfishness. The men of this time have forgotten the examples, and the works that Jesus left you as a testimony of his love. You have not allowed that word to be engraved in your heart, because if you had really kept it, you would have kept in mind my promise to return to you and you would have been watching and praying in anticipation of my arrival. But when I arrived, I surprised you sleeping. Then I said, Blessed are those who without reserve come to my call, because I will make them apostles of great wisdom. Some came in good faith, others waited to be freed from the bodily shell to come to say to me, Here I am, Lord. Like the bird that leaves its confinement and spreads its wings, I come before you to fulfill your will, but my will, people, has been that from this world you should affirm your steps on the spiritual path, because I want that body that I have entrusted to you to stop being a chain or a prison for the spirit. The spirit was not created to be a slave to the flesh or to the world, it is free. However, spiritual ignorance and religious fanaticism have turned the spirit of man into a slave that, century after century, has been chained and dragged through darkness. Now I have come to show you the way again, to sweeten your journey with the flavor of my word and to deliver to each one their cross of love so that, under its weight, will climb up the mountain and upon it, consummate his work. No one who is my disciple tries to reach me without his cross, because he will not be recognized as an apostle of my doctrine. There are many men who claim to comply with my teaching, others who think they love me but their love is false, because they do not practice my teaching and because they have never lived in my law. I do not want you to be like them, but rather that you come to truly feel love and charity. Do not brag about what I have given you or what you do, although many times you feel that your heart bursts with joy in your chest, after having done a good deed or having made yourselves worthy of a prodigy. My teaching is one of humility. It reveals in spiritual language the value or merit that each one of your works must have in order to be taken into account by your Lord. Truly I tell you that your spirit, with the light it has reached, already knows when a work is worthy or not, to present it to the Father. This is the teaching with which I will sustain your spirit at this time. Of the wine that is in this chalice, I will pour drop by drop on your lips until the day of my departure, but do not be sad, that just as you hear me, so my apostles heard me in the second era, when I told them, I'll be leaving soon and I'll leave you in my place so you can teach your brothers. They had lived with me, they had suffered together with their master, they contemplated my works and heard my words, but they were not the only ones, because my life was public, and the humble, the poor and the meek of heart were witnesses of my word. Then the sinners, the Pharisees, the scribes, the publicans, the governor, the minister, and the centurion. I spoke to each one and gave my light according to their spiritual need. So I have come to you at this time, speaking and manifesting myself in front of everyone and in broad daylight, so that each one takes the part that corresponds to him in my work and fulfill it. How beautiful will be the reward that your spirit receives when it leaves the envelope. Make yourselves worthy of that award, but for this, move away from the darkness of ignorance, so that you do not become wandering spirits, without direction and without a goal. Serve and love humanity that is your sister, and that in these moments is being tested by my justice. See how there is not a heart that has not drank the cup of bitterness. Pain is in all men at this time, but through it I will be sought, and through it men will feel the regret of having transgressed my law. There are those who wait for the return of the Messiah, but in what way do they wait for me? How long will they remain unaware that I am once again communicating with humanity? Truly I tell you that my light has reached all the nations through my envoys, who came to humanity as precursors of my third manifestation. 7 nations will be chosen, so that they make world peace and true brotherhood exists among men. In them I will manifest myself. Today I have found them engaged in fratricidal wars, given over to their dreams of grandeur and their insatiable ambitions for power. From this nation I will send a messenger of goodwill to the great peoples of the world, to speak to them of peace, and when they have put an end to the war, the light of harmony and peace will reach their spirits, but this light will not appear from the east nor the west, it will descend from my spirit to the spirits of humanity. Prepare yourselves, so that those appointed to fulfill this mission, can rise up in the footsteps of the nations at the right time, and when they have made my new word heard everywhere, the corpulent tree will send its branches, its shadow and fruit to all his children. Then you will redouble your fight and your zeal, so that my doctrine will not suffer adulterations, and so that ignorant and foolish men will not cut branches from the tree that I have entrusted to you, with the intention of making strange trees with them. My work must be made known with the purity and perfection with which I have revealed it to you, without rites or external forms. When you contemplate it so perfect, you feel unworthy of it, and you ask yourselves, why did the Father notice us to reveal it to us? And I tell you that despite the imperfections that you have, your spirit, in its long journey, has achieved great evolution. But it is not now when you realize the greatness of this manifestation, but when I have raised my word from among you, then you will understand the good that you had, and you will be filled with joy for having had me among you. Truly I tell you, at my table of love you have eaten and drank, O beloved disciples. My peace be with you. Teaching number 104.